Chapter 11 and Chapter 7. Let's start with what exactly is Chapter 11. Think of the U.S. Bankruptcy Code as a choose-your-own-adventure book for financial failure. Chapter 11 is the path where the main character, in this case, a massive, flailing corporation, doesn't die at the end. Instead, it gets a do-over. Officially, it's a legal framework that allows a business to continue operating while it develops a plan to restructure its debts and repay its creditors over time. This all happens under the watchful and frankly quite expensive eye of a federal bankruptcy court. It's essentially a timeout, a legally mandated breather where all the people the company owes money to have to stop calling, stop suing, and just wait. This process is designed to be a collaborative effort, which sounds lovely, doesn't it? Like a group project where everyone gets an A. The company, now known as the debtor in possession, works with its creditors to come up with a reorganization plan. This plan is a detailed roadmap outlining how the company will become profitable again and how it will pay back what it owes, or more accurately, a portion of what it owes. If the court and a majority of the creditors approve the plan, the company can emerge from bankruptcy and continue on its merry way. It's a system built on the hope that a reorganized company is worth more alive than it would be if it were chopped up and sold for parts. It's a beautiful, optimistic idea, really. A corporate redemption story. But like most redemption stories, it conveniently leaves out some of the ugly details of who gets sacrificed along the way. Now you might be thinking, I've heard of another bankruptcy chapter, the one where everything just stops. And you'd be right. That's Chapter 7, and it is the corporate Grim Reaper. The key difference between Chapter 11 and Chapter 7 is the difference between life and death. Chapter 7 is liquidation. It's the final act. When a company files for Chapter 7, it's raising a white flag and admitting defeat. The court appoints a trustee whose job is to sell off every last asset. The desks, the computers, the half-eaten bag of chips in the break room, everything. The business ceases to exist. It is an ex-company. Chapter 11, on the other hand, is all about survival. It's the "I'm not dead yet" scene from Monty Python, but for businesses. The goal isn't to shut the doors, it's to fix the problems so the doors can stay open. The company keeps operating. Its management usually stays in place and it works towards a future. So, while Chapter 7 is a funeral, Chapter 11 is more like intensive care. The patient is in critical condition, yes, but the doctors are trying to save it. It's the difference between saying, well, that was a good run, let's sell the furniture, and saying, okay, things are bad, but if we just get rid of our most expensive liabilities, like our employees, we might just pull through. One is an ending, the other is a new, often more ruthless beginning. So who actually benefits from this whole complicated mess? Well, let's start with the most obvious winner, the company itself. For a business on the brink of collapse, Chapter 11 is a godsend. The moment that petition is filed, an automatic stay goes into effect. This is a legal injunction that basically tells all the creditors to back off. All collection activities, lawsuits, and foreclosures are frozen. It's like the company suddenly has a magic force field that repels angry letters and threatening phone calls. This gives the business critical breathing room. It can stop panicking about immediate payments and start thinking about long-term survival. It's the ultimate pause button on financial Armageddon. With this newfound peace, the company can get to work. It can renegotiate leases for its buildings, often getting lower rent. It can reject burdensome contracts that are draining its cash. And most importantly, it can restructure its debt. This often means convincing lenders to accept less money than they're owed or to extend payment deadlines. The company gets to rewrite its own financial story, turning a tragedy into a tale of heroic recovery. It can consolidate operations, sell off unprofitable divisions, and streamline everything to become more efficient. Essentially, Chapter 11 gives the business a chance to shed its old debt-ridden skin and emerge as a newer, sleeker, and often a much smaller version of its former self. Alright, it might seem counterintuitive that the people who are owed money would benefit from a process that lets their debtor pay them less. But here's the logic. For creditors, Chapter 11 can be the lesser of two evils. The alternative, remember, is often Chapter 7 liquidation. In that scenario, the company is dismantled and sold for spare parts, and the creditors have to line up to get whatever scraps are left over. Secured creditors, the ones with collateral, like a bank that holds the mortgage on a building, get paid first. But unsecured creditors, like suppliers who sold goods on credit, are often left with pennies on the dollar, or more likely, absolutely nothing at all. Chapter 11 offers a different proposition. Instead of a fire sale, the company keeps operating and theoretically generating revenue. The creditors get a seat at the table to negotiate the reorganization plan. They can push for terms that are more favorable to them, ensuring they get back a larger percentage of their money over time than they would in a liquidation. They might even get equity, a piece of ownership, in the newly reorganized company. So, for a creditor, the choice is often between getting a guaranteed 10 cents on the dollar now, or taking a chance on getting 50 cents on the dollar over the next 5 years. It's a gamble, sure, but it's often a much better bet than the certainty of near total loss. And now we come to one of the most maddening parts of the whole affair. Who else benefits? Often it's the very same executives who were steering the ship when it hit the iceberg. In a Chapter 11 case, the existing management team is typically allowed to stay on and run the company. They become the debtor in possession, which means they are entrusted with managing the company's assets and operations through the bankruptcy process. Yes, you heard that right. The people whose strategic genius may have included, let's buy 1,000 beeper stores in 2008, or our core business model will be luxury fidget spinners get to keep their jobs, their salaries, and their corner offices, at least for a while. The court can appoint a trustee if there's evidence of fraud or gross mismanagement, but that's a high bar to clear. More often than not, the argument is that the current leadership team, despite their, let's call it, checkered track record, knows the business best and is therefore best equipped to lead it out of the crisis. And to add insult to injury, it's not uncommon for these same executives to be awarded massive retention bonuses. The justification? They need to be incentivized to stay and guide the company through the difficult restructuring period. So while rank-and-file employees are getting pink slips, the C-suite is getting a golden parachute to ensure they don't abandon the plane they flew into a mountain. It's a system that truly rewards failure in the most spectacular way. So if the company, the creditors, and the executives are all finding ways to win, who pays the price? Well, this is where the story turns bleak. The single biggest expense for most companies is payroll. It's salaries, it's benefits, it's healthcare. It's the cost of having actual human beings do the work. So, when a company in Chapter 11 needs to make drastic cuts to prove to the court it can become profitable, the first place it looks is its workforce. Laying people off is the quickest and most brutally effective way to slash expenses and improve the bottom line on paper. It's a cold, hard calculation. Think about it from the perspective of a restructuring officer. They're looking at a spreadsheet, and they see a massive number under the employee costs column. Cutting that number by 10, 20, or even 50% provides an immediate, tangible saving that they can present to the bankruptcy court and creditors as proof of their commitment to fiscal responsibility. It doesn't matter that these costs are people's livelihoods, their ability to pay rent, and feed their families. In the world of Chapter 11, employees are often reclassified from assets to liabilities. They become numbers on a balance sheet that need to be reduced, and mass layoffs are the simplest way to do it. It's not just about trimming the fat either. A major part of any Chapter 11 reorganization is taking a hard look at the company's entire physical footprint. A struggling retail chain might have hundreds of stores, many of which are underperforming or losing money. A manufacturing company might have several factories when it only has enough orders to keep one busy. As part of the restructuring plan, the company has the power to reject leases and close unprofitable locations. This is another key tool for cost cutting. Why keep paying rent on a store in Des Moines that's hemorrhaging cash when you can just not? Of course, every time a store, a branch office, or a factory is closed, the people who work there are made redundant. These aren't just abstract job losses. They are community-level devastations. A closed factory can hollow out a small town's economy. A shuttered big-box store leaves a gaping hole in a shopping center and puts dozens of people out of work. The company sees this as a strategic consolidation, a necessary step to focus on its profitable core. But for the employees at those locations, it's the end of the road. They aren't being laid off because they did a bad job. They're being laid off because the dot on the map where they worked was deemed expendable. And the hits just keep on coming. Beyond direct layoffs and closures, there are other, more insidious ways employees lose out. Often, a company will sell off entire divisions or product lines to raise cash. The new owner who buys that division is under no obligation to keep the existing employees, or they might rehire them at lower wages and with fewer benefits. Then there's the internal loss of confidence. When a company is in bankruptcy, the best employees, the ones with the most options, tend to jump ship first, leaving a demoralized and overburdened skeleton crew behind to try and keep things running. It's a vicious cycle of talent drain that makes recovery even harder. And for unionized workers, Chapter 11 can be a nightmare. The bankruptcy court gives companies the power to petition to reject their collective bargaining agreements. This is a massive bargaining chip. The company can go to the union and say, either you agree to massive concessions, wage cuts, pension freezes, higher healthcare costs, or we'll ask the judge to just tear up the contract entirely. Faced with that threat, unions are often forced to accept devastating rollbacks to save what jobs they can. So the very contracts that were meant to protect workers in hard times are effectively neutralized by the bankruptcy process, leaving employees exposed and vulnerable. It's the final, bitter pill to swallow in a process that asks them to sacrifice everything for a company that has already failed them. So there you have it, Chapter 11, Bankruptcy. It's a sophisticated legal mechanism, a lifeline designed to give struggling companies a second chance at life. And for the companies themselves, their executives, and often their creditors, it can work wonders. It's a system that allows them to pause, regroup, and rebuild, all under the protective wing of the federal court. It's a testament to the idea that in American capitalism, even catastrophic failure doesn't have to be fatal. But that generosity, that second chance, is not extended to everyone equally. As we've seen, the cost of this corporate rebirth is almost always paid by the employees. They are the ones who lose their jobs, their benefits, and their pensions. They are the ones who bear the brunt of the cost-cutting measures that are hailed as strategic and necessary in the boardroom. The entire process is a stark reminder that in the cold calculus of corporate finance, workers are often seen as the most disposable part of the equation. While the company gets to reorganize its debts, employees are left to reorganize their entire lives, often with little to no safety net. It's a system where the people at the top are insulated from the consequences of their decisions, while the people at the bottom are left to face them head-on. Understanding how this works isn't just an academic exercise. It's about knowing what's really happening when you see a headline about a major company filing for bankruptcy. It's about recognizing that the triumphant story of a corporate turnaround often has a tragic, untold backstory of human cost. The more we understand the real-world impact of these complex financial maneuvers, the better we can advocate for a system that doesn't just save corporations, but also protects the people who make them run. Because a company isn't just a balance sheet, it's a collection of human beings. And maybe, just maybe, they deserve a second chance too. Thanks for watching.